In the neon-lit sprawl of New Berlin, Earth's largest metropolis and the heart of interstellar commerce, the air buzzed with a tension that even the city's usual chaos couldn't mask. Humanity had been on edge for weeks. The Galactic Council, a coalition of alien species that claimed to govern peace in the galaxy, had been tightening their grip on Earth ever since humanity refused to surrender its sovereignty. Trade restrictions, espionage, and covert skirmishes had pushed the fragile relationship to the breaking point. Captain Isaac Vren stood at the observation deck of Unity Tower, his posture relaxed but his eyes sharp as he looked out over the city below. Despite the imposing figure he cut in his jet-black uniform, Isaac had a reputation for his dry humor and a knack for turning impossible odds into slim victories. He took a sip of his coffee, strong, bitter, and the only reliable companion in his line of work. "Captain," a voice called from behind. Lieutenant Mira Solis, his second-in-command, approached with an expression that screamed bad news. Mira was precise, sharp, and utterly incapable of delivering a briefing without a frown. "Let me guess," Isaac said without turning. "Someone blew up another trade station, and now the Council is blaming us again?" Mira stopped beside him, her datapad glowing with lines of text. "Not exactly. We've intercepted a message. It's from the Council, and it's troubling." Isaac raised an eyebrow, finally turning to face her. "Troubling how?" Mira handed him the datapad. On it, an encoded message slowly decrypted, revealing a single line: "Operation Excision is active. The Baba Yaga must not survive." Isaac frowned. "Baba Yaga? Isn't that some old Earth myth? Witches and Russian folklore?" Mira crossed her arms. "It's also the codename for our deadliest Black Ops operative. The Council wants them dead." Isaac felt a chill creep down his spine. Baba Yaga wasn't just a myth or a codename, it was a title whispered in hushed tones even among Earth's top brass. No one knew their real name, their appearance, or their origin. All that was certain was that when the Baba Yaga was unleashed, even the galaxy's fiercest warriors trembled. "And we have no idea why the Council is suddenly targeting them?" Isaac asked. Mira shook her head. "No, but it gets worse. We've identified a group of alien assassins that have already landed on Earth. They're moving fast, and their target is here, in New Berlin." Isaac pinched the bridge of his nose. "Let me guess. High Command's brilliant solution is to hope Baba Yaga sorts it out?" "Not quite," Mira replied, her tone grim. "They've ordered us to locate and protect Baba Yaga until the threat is neutralized." Isaac stared at her for a long moment before letting out a dry laugh. "So, our job is to find a ghost and convince them to work with us." Easy. The hunt for Baba Yaga began in the sprawling underbelly of New Berlin, where neon lights and holographic billboards gave way to shadowy alleys and underground clubs. Isaac and Mira navigated the labyrinthine streets, guided by snippets of intelligence and the occasional informant willing to talk. Their first lead brought them to a mechanic shop, tucked away in an abandoned section of the city. The shop owner, a wiry man with a cybernetic arm, looked up from his work as they entered. "Captain Vren," the man said, wiping grease off his hands. "Didn't think I'd see you here. What's the occasion?" Isaac leaned against the counter. "Looking for someone. Goes by Baba Yaga." The mechanic's face darkened. "Not someone you want to find, Captain. If they don't want to be found, you won't find them." "Maybe," Isaac said, tossing a credit chip onto the counter. "Or maybe you'll tell me what you know, and we'll both walk away happy." The mechanic hesitated, then sighed. "There's a rumor. A weapons drop happened 2 blocks from here last night, something high-grade, military issue. If Baba Yaga's in the area, that's the kind of place they'd go." Isaac nodded. "Appreciate it." As they left the shop, Mira glanced at Isaac. "You think this Baba Yaga will actually help us?" Isaac smirked. "If they don't kill us first." The weapons drop site was a dilapidated warehouse, its exterior scorched and riddled with bullet holes from past skirmishes. Isaac and Mira approached cautiously, their weapons drawn. Inside, the air was thick with tension, the faint hum of energy weapons charging adding to the unease. Suddenly, a shadow moved across the far wall. Mira spotted it first, raising her weapon. "Hold it right there." The figure stepped into the light, revealing a tall, hooded individual clad in sleek, dark armor. Their face was obscured by a helmet with a single, glowing red visor. They moved with an eerie calm, their every step exuding lethal precision. "Baba Yaga," Isaac said, lowering his weapon slightly. "We're not here to fight." The figure tilted their head. "You found me. That was your first mistake." Isaac held up his hands. "Look, I get it. You're the galaxy's most wanted right now, and the Council sent a team of assassins after you. But we're not your enemies. We're here to help." Baba Yaga's voice was distorted but clear. "Help? You'll only slow me down." Mira stepped forward. "You don't understand. These aren't ordinary assassins. They're a multi-species strike team, each one specialized in hunting and killing targets like you." Baba Yaga turned to face Mira, their presence as unsettling as it was captivating. "And you think I can't handle them?" Isaac sighed. "I think even you have limits. And if they succeed in killing you, Earth's defense network loses its best operative. So, like it or not, we're in this together." For a long moment, Baba Yaga didn't respond. Then they nodded slightly. "Fine. But if you slow me down, I won't hesitate to leave you behind." "Fair enough," Isaac said, holstering his weapon. "So, what's the plan?" Baba Yaga turned, their red visor glinting ominously. "We don't wait for them to find me. We hunt them first." Isaac couldn't help but grin. "Now that's a plan I can get behind." The streets of New Berlin were unusually quiet, the usual hum of activity replaced by an eerie silence. Somewhere in the shadows, the Council's assassins were already closing in. Captain Isaac Vren, Lieutenant Mira Solis, and Baba Yaga moved swiftly through the city's labyrinthine underbelly. Each step felt like walking on a blade's edge, every corner held the potential for an ambush. The assassins weren't ordinary hunters. The Galactic Council had assembled a team from its deadliest species, a Zornian stalker with unparalleled tracking skills, a Kargath enforcer whose armor was impervious to most weaponry, a Rylax sharpshooter with pinpoint precision, and a Scion telepath capable of infiltrating minds. Together, they represented the Council's terrifying ability to wage covert warfare. Baba Yaga stopped abruptly, their helmet tilting slightly as if listening to something only they could hear. "They're close," they said in their distorted voice. "Too close." Isaac scanned the area, his instincts kicking into overdrive. "What do you mean, close?" Baba Yaga didn't answer. Instead, they raised their hand and pointed toward an abandoned market. "They're watching us. Move." Without hesitation, the group ducked into the shadows, weaving through a maze of crumbling stalls and flickering neon signs. Mira activated a motion tracker on her wrist, but the readout was disturbingly empty. "I'm not picking up anything," Mira whispered. "Are you sure?" A sharp, metallic sound cut her off. From the shadows, the Zornian stalker emerged, its sleek, reptilian form gliding silently across the ground. Its black eyes locked onto Baba Yaga, its razor-sharp claws gleaming in the dim light. "Scatter!" Baba Yaga barked, drawing a pair of energy blades that hummed with deadly energy. The Zornian moved faster than Isaac could follow, its claws slicing through the air as it lunged. Baba Yaga met the attack head-on, their blades flashing in a deadly dance. Sparks flew as the two combatants clashed, their movements a blur of precision and power. Isaac and Mira scrambled to cover, their weapons drawn. But as they took aim, the second assassin revealed itself. The Kargath enforcer stepped out of the shadows, its massive frame covered in shimmering armor. It let out a guttural roar, raising a massive plasma hammer that glowed with menacing energy. "That's not fair," Isaac muttered, firing at the Kargath. The shots ricocheted harmlessly off its armor, leaving nothing but scorch marks. "Find its weak spot," Mira shouted, ducking behind a pillar as the Kargath swung its hammer, obliterating a nearby stall. There is no weak spot. Isaac replied, dodging another swing. It's a walking tank. Baba Yaga, still locked in combat with the Zornian, glanced at the Kargath. Its weak spot is its arrogance, they said coldly. Isaac smirked despite himself. Noted. The fight became a chaotic melee. The Zornian's speed and the Kargath's brute strength kept the group on the defensive. Mira managed to throw a smoke grenade, briefly disorienting their attackers, but it only bought them a few seconds. We need to regroup. Isaac shouted, firing at the Zornian as it leapt toward him. No, Baba Yaga said sharply. We finish this here. With a fluid motion, Baba Yaga turned their focus to the Kargath. They activated a small device on their wrist, emitting a high-pitched frequency that caused the Kargath to falter, clutching its head. Sound disruptors, Baba Yaga explained as they lunged forward, their energy blades slicing through the Kargath's exposed joints. The massive enforcer let out a roar of pain before collapsing, its armor sparking. Isaac let out a low whistle. Remind me not to get on your bad side. The Zornian, seeing its ally fall, hissed and retreated into the shadows. Baba Yaga didn't pursue. Instead, they turned to Isaac and Mira, their voice calm but firm. We're outnumbered and outgunned. If we don't start thinking like them, we're dead. The group retreated to a safe house in the industrial sector, an old shipping depot filled with rusting containers and outdated machinery. Isaac and Mira patched up their wounds while Baba Yaga stood watch, their helmets scanning for any signs of movement. What do we know about the others? Mira asked, reviewing the dossier on the Council's assassins. We've got the Zornian stalker, the Kargath enforcer. The Rylax sharpshooter and the Scion telepath, Baba Yaga finished. They'll be the real threat. The Rylax will keep us pinned down, and the Scion will break our minds if we let them. Isaac leaned back against a crate. So, what's the plan? We can't take them all head-on. Baba Yaga turned, their red visor glowing faintly. We make them come to us. And we make them afraid. Afraid of what? Mira asked, raising an eyebrow. Afraid of me. The trap was set. Using the safe house as bait, the group planted decoy signals and false heat signatures to lure the assassins in. Baba Yaga positioned themselves in the center of the depot, their armor gleaming like a beacon. They'll come for me first, Baba Yaga said. When they do, you take the others out. Isaac and Mira nodded, taking up positions in the shadows. The tension was suffocating as they waited, every second feeling like an eternity. Finally, the assassins arrived. The Rylax sharpshooter perched on a nearby rooftop, its long-range rifle aimed at Baba Yaga. The Scion telepath emerged from the darkness, its lithe form cloaked in shimmering energy. The Zornian stalker flanked from the right, its claws glinting menacingly. Baba Yaga stood motionless, their blades sheathed. Come, they said, their voice cutting through the silence like a blade. Let's end this. The Rylax fired first, its shot streaking through the air with deadly precision. Baba Yaga sidestepped effortlessly, the shot grazing their shoulder. Before the Rylax could fire again, Isaac took his shot, his rifle blasting the assassin off the rooftop. One down. Isaac called out. The Zornian lunged at Baba Yaga, its claws slashing wildly. This time, Baba Yaga was ready. They sidestepped the attack and delivered a devastating blow to the Zornian's midsection, their blade cutting through its armor. The assassin let out a strangled hiss before collapsing. The Scion was the last to move, its telepathic abilities warping the air around it. Mira screamed, clutching her head as the Scion tried to invade her mind. Baba Yaga acted quickly, throwing a disruptor grenade that detonated in a burst of light and sound. The Scion staggered, its focus broken, and Baba Yaga finished it with a single, precise strike. As the last assassin fell, the depot fell silent. Isaac and Mira emerged from their hiding spots, their faces pale but determined. Is that all of them? Mira asked, her voice shaky. For now, Baba Yaga said. But the council will send more. Isaac sighed, wiping the sweat from his brow. Then we'd better be ready. Baba Yaga turned toward him, their red visor reflecting the faint light of the depot. This was just the beginning, Captain. The Council made their move. Now it's our turn. The aftermath of the ambush left the safe house in eerie silence, broken only by the crackle of sparking wires and the faint hum of distant city noise. The assassins were dead, their bodies sprawled amidst the wreckage of the trap. Captain Isaac Vren, Lieutenant Mira Solis, and Baba Yaga stood amidst the chaos, catching their breath. But they all knew this victory was fleeting. Baba Yaga's distorted voice cut through the quiet. The Council won't stop. They'll escalate. They'll send something worse. Isaac wiped sweat from his brow. Worse than a multi-species death squad? What does that even look like? Myra's datapad chimed before Baba Yaga could answer. She glanced at the screen, her face paling. It looks like an orbital strike. The group rushed outside, where the night sky above New Berlin had been illuminated by streaks of light. Council ships, sleek and predatory, were descending from orbit. Their engines roared, their weapons already glowing with the telltale charge of planet-breaking firepower. They're targeting us directly, Mira said. This isn't a hunt anymore. It's an extermination. Isaac's mind raced. The Council wasn't just escalating, they were sending a message. This wasn't about killing Baba Yaga anymore. It was about making an example of Earth. We can't fight them here, Isaac said. Not with the civilians in the crossfire. Baba Yaga nodded. Agreed. But if we run, they'll tear the city apart looking for us. Then we take the fight somewhere else, Isaac said, his tone resolute. But we're going to need a bigger plan. They didn't have long to act. Baba Yaga led them to an abandoned military depot on the outskirts of New Berlin, a relic of Earth's earlier skirmishes with the Council. Inside, they found what they needed, a long-range stealth transport equipped with advanced jamming technology. It was old, battered, but functional. As Mira worked on patching the ship's systems, Isaac paced the hangar, his mind spinning with strategies. If we're going to draw the Council away, we need a target they can't ignore. Baba Yaga, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. Their command ship. Isaac froze. You want us to attack their flagship? The one that's probably surrounded by their entire fleet? Exactly, Baba Yaga said. If we take it out, we cripple their coordination and send a message they won't forget. Mira looked up from her console, her face a mix of disbelief and grudging admiration. That's insane. It's also the only way to stop them, Baba Yaga replied. Isaac sighed, running a hand through his hair. Fine. But if this goes south, I'm blaming you. The stealth transport, christened Shadowbane, slipped through the chaos of New Berlin's skies. Baba Yaga piloted the ship with unnerving precision, weaving through the city's airspace as Council ships rained destruction below. The transport's cloaking field kept them invisible, but every maneuver felt like threading a needle. As they broke through the atmosphere, the full scale of the Council's fleet became apparent. Dozens of ships, ranging from nimble fighters to massive dreadnoughts, loomed above Earth like an impenetrable wall. How are we supposed to get past that? Mira asked, her voice tight. We don't need to get past all of them, Baba Yaga said. Just close enough to the flagship. The flagship, a massive, ominous vessel bristling with weapons and shields, was the center of the fleet. It radiated power, its very presence a declaration of dominance. Baba Yaga guided the Shadowbane into the shadow of a nearby Council dreadnought, using its bulk to mask their approach. The plan was simple in theory but suicidal in execution: breach the flagship, disable its command systems, and escape before the fleet realized what had happened. Steady, Baba Yaga said as they drifted closer. We're in range. Isaac and Mira readied their gear, their weapons modified for the ship's close quarters. Baba Yaga, now armed with a sleek energy bow and their signature blades, turned to them. Stick to the plan. Don't stop moving. And don't die. Good pep talk, Isaac muttered as the Shadowbane latched onto the flagship's hull. The breach was swift and brutal. The team cut through the hull and dropped into the ship's corridors, where the sterile environment contrasted starkly with the chaos outside. The Council's guards, a mix of armored soldiers and combat drones, responded almost immediately. Baba Yaga led the charge, their energy bow firing precise, silent shots that pierced armor and circuitry alike. Isaac and Mira covered their flanks, their weapons blazing as they pushed deeper into the flagship. The corridors were a maze, each turn leading to another firefight. The ship's defenses were relentless, but Baba Yaga's leadership was unwavering. They moved with the efficiency of a predator, every action calculated and lethal. "Command centers this way," Baba Yaga said, gesturing toward a reinforced door at the end of the corridor. "Once we're in, Mira, you'll need to interface with their systems. Isaac, cover her." "And what about you?" Isaac asked. Baba Yaga's visor glinted. "I'll keep the rest of them busy." The command center was a fortress within a fortress. Rows of terminals and holodisplays surrounded a central platform where the ship's captain, a tall, insectoid alien with a regal bearing, waited. The captain's mandibles clicked as they regarded the intruders. "You dare board my ship," the captain hissed, their voice reverberating through the chamber. "You are fools to challenge the council." "We've been called worse," Isaac replied, raising his weapon. The battle that followed was chaos incarnate. Council guards poured into the room, their weapons cutting through the air as Isaac and Mira fought to hold them back. Baba Yaga engaged the captain directly, their blades clashing with the alien's energy staff in a dazzling display of skill. Mira reached the central terminal, her fingers flying over the controls. "I'm in. Shutting down their coordination systems now." "Hurry it up," Isaac shouted, firing at a group of approaching guards. The captain roared, their movements growing more desperate as Baba Yaga pressed the attack. With a final, calculated strike, Baba Yaga's blade found its mark, cutting through the captain's defenses and ending the fight. "I'm done," Mira called out. "Their systems are offline." "Then let's get out of here," Isaac said. The escape was as chaotic as the assault. The flagship's systems were in disarray, but the fleet was already converging on their position. Baba Yaga led the team back to the breach point, their movements precise and unyielding. The Shadowbane was waiting, its engines already running. The team boarded just as Council fighters opened fire, the ship shuddering under the onslaught. "Hold on!" Baba Yaga shouted, piloting the transport with impossible skill. The Shadowbane darted through the chaos, evading fire and slipping past the fleet's perimeter. As they broke free into open space, the flagship behind them erupted in a massive explosion. The team watched in silence as the Council's fleet fell into disarray, their coordination shattered. "We did it," Mira said, her voice a mix of disbelief and relief. Isaac leaned back in his seat, letting out a long breath. "Yeah. We did." Baba Yaga, still at the controls, said nothing. But Isaac could see the faintest nod of approval. Back on Earth, the team returned to a hero's welcome. The Council's fleet, now leaderless, had retreated, and humanity had gained a rare moment of reprieve. But Isaac knew this wasn't the end. In the quiet of the debriefing room, Isaac turned to Baba Yaga. "You think they'll come back?" "They always do," Baba Yaga said. "But next time, they'll remember what happened here. And they'll think twice." For the first time, Isaac saw a flicker of something human behind Baba Yaga's visor. Resolve. Determination. And perhaps, just perhaps, hope. The wreckage of the Council's flagship still glowed faintly in orbit above Earth, a testament to humanity's bold retaliation. But the victory was a fleeting one, and Captain Isaac Vren knew the Council wouldn't let this humiliation go unanswered. Back on the surface, the people of New Berlin celebrated their survival, unaware of the storm that was still brewing. Isaac, Lieutenant Mira Solis, and Baba Yaga stood in Unity Tower's war room, the air between them heavy with the weight of unfinished business. Holographic projections showed the scattered remnants of the Council's fleet pulling back to regroup, but Isaac's instincts told him the retreat wasn't a concession. It was preparation. "They'll come back," Mira said, voicing what everyone was thinking. "And when they do, they won't send assassins or fleets. They'll bring annihilation. Isaac nodded. They've lost too much face to let this slide. We need to prepare for the worst. Baba Yaga, silent as always, stepped forward and pointed to a cluster of star systems on the map. This isn't over, they said, their voice cold and precise. The Council's fallback point is here. If we hit them now, we can end this before they regroup. Mira frowned. Another offensive? We barely survived the last one. Earth's defenses are stretched thin. Baba Yaga turned to her, their red visor gleaming. Defending Earth won't save it. We take the fight to them, or we wait for them to come back stronger. Isaac considered this for a moment. Baba Yaga was right. A purely defensive strategy would only delay the inevitable. But an offensive? It was risky, suicidal, even. Do we have any idea what we'd be walking into? Isaac asked. Not much, Mira admitted. Our intelligence is limited. But one thing's certain, if we're going to make this work, we'll need to cripple their central command once and for all. Isaac sighed, running a hand through his hair. Then we'd better make sure we hit them where it hurts. The team's plan was simple in theory but staggeringly complex in execution. The Council's fallback point was a heavily fortified space station orbiting a black hole, its strategic position making it nearly impenetrable. The station served as a central hub for the Council's leadership, and taking it out would throw their forces into chaos. Humanity's remaining fleets would stage a diversionary assault on the station's perimeter, drawing the bulk of its defenses away. Meanwhile, a small strike team, Isaac, Mira, and Baba Yaga, would infiltrate the station, plan a series of destabilization charges, and escape before the station was swallowed by the black hole. The stakes couldn't have been higher. The assault began with an explosion of light and sound. Earth's fleets emerged from hyperspace, their weapons blazing as they engaged the Council's defensive forces. The station's orbital defenses came alive, unleashing a torrent of fire that turned space into a deadly web of destruction. Amid the chaos, the Shadowbane slipped through the defenses, its cloaking field shimmering faintly as it approached the station. Inside, Isaac and Mira checked their weapons one last time while Baba Yaga piloted the ship with unnerving precision. Once we're in, we'll have 30 minutes to plant the charges and get out, Baba Yaga said. Any longer, and the station's collapse will take us with it. No pressure, Isaac muttered, his voice laced with dry humor. Mira smirked, but her grip on her weapon was tight. Let's just make sure we get out alive. The Shadowbane docked in a maintenance bay on the station's underside, avoiding the heavily guarded main hangars. The team disembarked quickly, their boots hitting the cold metal floor as they moved into the station's labyrinthine corridors. The station was eerily quiet, its halls bathed in dim, flickering light. But the silence didn't last long. As they approached the first objective, a wave of Council guards intercepted them, their weapons raised. Here we go, Isaac muttered, raising his rifle. The ensuing firefight was brutal. The guards were well trained and heavily armed, but Baba Yaga's precision and the team's coordination allowed them to push through. Every step forward was hard-earned, the tension mounting as the timer on Myra's wrist counted down. Charge set, Mira said as she secured the first explosive to a power conduit. 2 more to go. Move, Baba Yaga ordered, their voice calm and unyielding. The second objective was in the station's reactor core, a cavernous chamber filled with pulsating energy conduits. The team fought their way through another wave of guards, the room's oppressive heat adding to the intensity of the battle. As Mira set the second charge, an alarm blared, the station's defenses fully activating. Automated turrets descended from the ceiling, firing indiscriminately. Turrets! Isaac shouted, taking cover behind a console. This just got a lot harder. Baba Yaga didn't flinch. They moved with surgical precision, their energy blades slicing through the turrets one by one. Isaac and Mira provided cover fire, their weapons cutting down the remaining guards. Charge set. Mira called out, her voice strained. 1 more to go. The team regrouped, their movements urgent as they pushed toward the final objective, the station's command center. The command center was a fortress of reinforced barriers and overlapping fields of fire. The Council's remaining leadership stood at the center, their presence commanding and their guards unwavering. Baba Yaga stepped forward, their red visor glowing ominously. "Stay behind me," they said. The final battle was chaos incarnate. Baba Yaga engaged the Council leaders directly, their blades clashing against energy staffs and shields. Isaac and Mira fought desperately to hold off the guards, their ammunition running dangerously low. "Mira, the charge!" Isaac shouted as he fired at a drone closing in on them. Mira sprinted toward the central console, dodging fire as she placed the final charge. Her fingers flew over the controls, activating the detonation sequence. "Charge set," she yelled. "We've got 5 minutes to get out of here." Baba Yaga finished the last of the Council leaders with a devastating strike, their blade cutting through the alien's energy shield. They turned to the team, their voice calm but firm. "Move. Now." The escape was a desperate race against time. The station shuddered violently as the charges detonated one by one, the black hole's gravitational pull tearing at its weakened structure. The team fought their way back to the Shadowbane, the station's collapsing corridors filled with fire and debris. Isaac and Mira barely made it aboard before the ship's engines roared to life, propelling them away from the station. From the safety of the Shadowbane, the team watched as the station was consumed by the black hole, its destruction sending shockwaves through the Council's fleet. "It's over," Isaac said, his voice heavy with relief. "For now," Baba Yaga replied, their tone unreadable. Back on Earth, the team was hailed as heroes. The destruction of the station had dealt a crippling blow to the Council, forcing their forces into disarray. Humanity had bought itself time to rebuild, to strengthen, and to prepare for whatever came next. In the quiet of Unity Tower, Isaac, Mira, and Baba Yaga stood together, watching the stars. "You think they'll come back?" Mira asked. "They always do," Baba Yaga said. "But next time, they'll remember us. And they'll fear us."